Hello backpackers and fellow outdoor enthusiasts. Welcome to Backpacking with Buckley. It's fall, everyone. Perhaps the backpacker's favorite time of year. Beautiful array of colors. You can hear the leaves crunching underneath your feet. No bugs, but with that comes some more cooler and brisk temperatures. I'm heading off to Kentucky in a couple of days to visit the Red River Gorge, and oddly enough, the temperatures are already going to be dipping into the 30s at night. And it got me to thinking, maybe it's time to prepare for colder temperatures. So what gear do I have that I'm going to swap out for warmer options? And what new gear am I going to be testing for the fall and winter seasons? Let's get a start by doing a little show and tell today. A lot of what we're going to talk about today is going to have to do with comfort in relativity to warmth. As you know, fall clearly gets into colder temperatures, and I like to plan on any fall trip for it to get down to freezing or 30 degrees, somewhere in that range. So that's kind of my starting point on how to pack my gear for fall. Let's start with some layering solutions. And one thing that is really important, I have one on today, is probably a wind layer. This particular one is just a Hilltop Packs Champion wind hoodie, and it's a good layer to have to prevent the wind from breaking through and getting you cold. Underneath this, I would generally wear like my puffy jacket that I have from Enlightened Equipment, and under that some sort of a base layer, merino wool or synthetic base layer. That's pretty much my 3-layer system for anything down to about 30 degrees, with the wind layer being very important. One hack you can use is just use your rain jacket for that wind layer if you're going to carry one of those anyway. To add to those layers, I'll generally swap out my t-shirt and extra pair of lightweight socks for another base layer and a heavier pair of socks, along with I'll swap out my cap for a beanie and a heavier weight buff and a light pair of gloves. Again, for me, this is about down to 30 degrees. Fall, winter, early spring is the only time of year you will ever see me carrying a Nalgene bottle. And I'll tell you why. A Nalgene bottle you can fill with boiling water, or very close to boiling if you want to be extra safe, but I've literally filled this several times with boiling water. And this becomes an awesome heat source. I can use this, I throw it in my hammock shortly before I go to bed, and it literally kind of preheats the hammock and underquilt for me. And then another thing that I've grown quite fond of is called the Polar Jammer, which is literally just a sleeve you can put your hands in, you can attach it to your hip belt, but what I use it most for is to protect my gear and my skin from this really hot Nalgene bottle. This Polar Jammer is just an insulated sleeve with shock cord on either end. I'll put my boiling hot Nalgene in there, cinch up both ends, and I have one hell of a heating pack. And I promise you this will heat for probably 4 hours. It's hard for me to know. I've woken up in the morning with it still hot, so it's hard to know. But this is an awesome little combination. Nalgene bottle, the Polar Jammer, which you can find on Etsy. Just search Polar Jammer. It's from my buddy A-Todd, All Things Outdoors on YouTube. I'll leave a link below. Let's talk real quick about fabrics. It's essential in the fall and winter to not use fabrics that won't insulate when you are damp or wet, sweating, for example. As long as you can keep your down quilts dry and things like that, that's great. But you're going to want to be careful if you're wearing a down puffy or anything cotton, that it can be very dangerous when wet because it will lose its insulative qualities and it will not wick that moisture away from your body, thus making you freezing your ass off. One of the most common base layers are made of generally from merino wool. And I'll talk more about this company later, but I just want to take a moment to acknowledge this little logo on my hat. It's a company called Glacial Gear. It is a small cottage company, and they specialize in merino wool products, including this ultra lightweight buff that I've been using all summer. They make some great caps and novelty items like this as well, but they make good pack towels, and I think have a lot of cool items in the works for the future. So please check out this small company, made in the USA, merino wool, Glacial Gear. All right. One of the most important things to probably upgrade in terms of temperature is to switch out your summer quilt for a fall winter quilt. I traditionally carry like a 45-degree Enlightened Equipment quilt, and in the winter I switch to my baby, which is my Superior Gear quilt. This is the same brand as my hammock, made in Minnesota, and phenomenal products. Their quilts are highly underrated, And especially if you are a Superior Gear hammock owner, they are a wonderful addition, because this quilt will also function as a secondary layer on my already insulated hammock if I want to bring it down to extreme temperatures. What I have here is a 15-degree quilt. It weighs a little over 1.5 pounds, and let me pull it out of the bag here so you can see just how fluffy and downy it is.
So turn and face the strange changes. I don't want to be a richer man. Changes. Gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time.
Next, it's pretty handy to have a saw at camp, especially in colder temps, and obviously if you're in a place where they allow campfires. Nothing better than a autumn campfire, winter campfire, and it's hard to sometimes find enough dry wood that you can break by hand to make a significant enough fire to keep a few people warm. What I have here is, arguably overkill, the Silky Big Boy. This is what I bring in fall and winter. I also have a smaller one called the Gomboy, but I found carrying a little bit of extra weight with this big boy is well worth it, because I can cut down branches that big. This thing is a tried and true saw. I tried it first with Jerry Springer. I don't think he's a backpacker. That Jeremiah Stringer guy had one of these at my Kentucky trip last year, and it sold me in about 5 saw strokes, because as compared to the other saws I've tried, Silky rocks. That does not mean you need to go out and spend $80 on a saw. Any old saw will do. Even something you pick up for 10 bucks at Menards is better than breaking your kneecaps. But a saw is a handy item to bring out, because fire equals fun. Another item I'll often carry in fall and winter that I don't use in the summer is a knife. This particular knife is from a company called Dispatch Knives. They sent me 3 or 4 knives to try out, and I'm looking forward to using them. This particular one is a fixed blade, if I remember correctly. Pretty simple fixed blade knife. Maybe you'd call it a dagger. I don't know if this will be the one I carry, but a fixed blade knife is often good if you want to baton wood. In other words, split logs into smaller logs. I'm not sure if this will be the one that makes the cut for that job, but Dispatch Knives sent me some to try out, including this fixed blade, this really badass looking, I'll call this a street knife. Nobody'd mess with you if you pulled this out unless it's Croc Dundee. And then a neck knife, which is a popular thing. You can just use some paracord and hold this around your neck so you always have a knife handy. This is a nice little knife. All pretty high quality made so far. I'm going to test these out throughout the fall and winter and perhaps do a longer review at some date. But a knife is a good handy item to bring, especially if you're one of those folks that brings a steak, which leads me to my next point. The next couple of items I'm going to talk about are pertaining to some of the luxuries you can enjoy in the fall and winter. Primarily what I'm talking about is you can bring better food because it doesn't spoil as quickly in the colder temperatures. You can bring steaks, you can bring like boil in a bag chili that you cook at home. You can get really creative, and a lot of times you might find yourself more apt to cook over the campfire. So I've shown this off before. These are back in production. The smaller Apex Giant fire top grill, and I'm going to pull this out and put it together for you so you can conceptualize how this would work. Apex Giant grill comes with your option of a slotted grate like this or a flat top, and then 2 extra pieces which are the legs of the grill itself. It is extraordinarily simple to put together, like that. And then you put the grate on through the slots. Like so. And this you literally just put over a bed of coals, and you can cook all sorts of stuff on here. Get creative. Hamburgers, hot dogs, a steak, apple pie, I don't know. But the Apex Giant grill is going to be getting some use this fall and winter. It's also one of the only times a year where I may do something like there's some decent backpacking soups out there. You can get some store-bought soups. They do burn a lot of fuel because they require simmering for a while. But at any rate, sometimes it's nice to bring out extra water capacity for boiling. And this is an item that I got from Near Zero. It's a really cool budget company. They have everything you could ever need for backpacking. Really creative, ultralight gear at a budget price. And they sent me this really cool little tea kettle. I've used it a couple times, but I absolutely love it. And this was something I was skeptical about. But you can put your entire stove kit in here to reduce the bulk, and it will boil a heck of a lot of water. 1,100 milliliters. Got a pour top spout, so you can do multiple cups of coffee or hot cocoa. Just a cool little item, and something that I will probably be more apt to bring in the cold temperatures. So that almost wraps everything up for the day. I did get a new package in the mail today from a company, Chinese company, called Sabot Heat. I've seen more and more of this when I'm looking through my Instagram feeds and thing. It is battery heated items like vests, in this case some battery heated gloves. I did agree to take them because it's kind of a head scratcher. These each have, I believe, a 3,000 milliamp battery hour. I told them I'm going to test them through the winter and see if they actually work, if the extra weight of the battery is worth it. I'm not going to unbox this today, but I just got it in the mail and thought maybe this will be another video. I've got this and a heated vest that I'll be trying out when those temperatures dip even below 30. But yeah, battery heated items, they're intriguing. Let's see how that goes. So cheers to fall. It is my favorite season just because I love the colors. I also think sleeping in temperatures like this are probably the most comfortable for me personally. You're not hot, and it's really cozy when you get yourself nice and warm in your tent or hammock. Plus, generally speaking, there's fewer people out camping. That's always a plus for me. At any rate, fall is a great time to get outside, so please don't let it scare you off. Just make sure you plan accordingly. As long as you take advantage of today's modern technologies in AKA gear, you should stay plenty warm, sometimes even too warm. I sleep often barefoot, even down to 0 degrees, not thanks to my toughness, thanks to technology. So make sure you research your gear, pick out what's appropriate for you, and do some testing in safe situations so you know that you're not going to put yourself in a dangerous one. So that really wraps up my Let's Get Ready for Fall video, and I'm off to Kentucky tomorrow morning. Looking forward to showing off some videos there. Hopefully the fall colors will be popping. A little early for Kentucky, but fingers crossed. So without further ado, be yourself, be happy. We'll see you real soon, everybody. A knife. I rarely carry one during the summer because I just don't use it all that often, so it has been ixnayed from my sack.
Changes are taking the place I'm going to, so turn and face the strain.